What it allowed me to do was kind of whatever I want. 9 to 5, but actually 10 hours a day and grind and retirement, but then you die 3 years after you retire. And I knew that I was onto something. Like, I've never sold anything ever.
Welcome to Built from Scratch, where we talk to small business owners about how they built their brand.
Hi, everyone. Today we're here with Riley. Riley, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your business?
Hi, Sarita. I am Riley Stevens, and this is ATX Art Party. This is a place where so ChatGPT tells me to call this canvas to couture. Basically what I'm doing is painting on giant paintings like this and turning it into clothes. And so one of the things I'd really like to do is make a huge distinction between something like this that is paint on clothes, right? And this, which is a painting that is cut out and put on clothes, and these pants, which are literally clothes made out of a painting. And so that's the biggest difference. I don't know that anybody else in the entire world is making apparel out of original paintings.
So what inspired you to start this kind of business?
I've been a sculptor, a stone sculptor, since I was in my 20s. And whenever I would throw parties for my friends, whether it's at my studio or my home, I would always put up a giant canvas or something to paint on. I've done doors and windows, and then they got bigger where it was a canvas on a wall or murals. In 2023 for my birthday, I had all of my best friends over. We had a big party for my birthday, and we made this giant painting. I just thought it was so cool that there were so many people that got involved with it and expressed creativity and were enjoying it so much. I took that and I cut it into pieces, sewed it into clothes like this. This is one of the first pieces. And so I took that painting and cut it out and sewed it into a denim jacket. I thought, this is just so incredibly cool. I can wear this memory of this great event and bring it with me everywhere I go and think of the people that I love that shared that day with me. Then at my studio, I had a big painting at a sculpture studio, and shortly thereafter, I thought, wow, what if I just took this to the tailor across the street and asked them to turn this into, I love tracksuits. So make me a tracksuit out of this. And so I had to make a hoodie. And these pants, these are actually the prototype, the very first pair of pants that I made out of a canvas that I painted. I put them on and it was the most comfortable thing I've ever worn. It was lighter than denim, it was strong. It's basically what Carhartts are made out of. And I fell in love with it. It's all I ever wanted to wear. And so now I'm throwing parties at my sculpture studio, painting, and then making clothes out of those. One of the early pieces I made, I took it to a professional who I can't say her name because she actually stiffed me. She took my money, went on vacation, and was supposed to do a whole bunch of stuff. But I did get this jacket and a pair of pants out of it. And then as soon as I saw this, I knew that I was onto something. Like this, it was just so unique and so beautiful. I was like, I have to do this. And now I've got a manufacturing deal in Los Angeles where I've got an artist who makes custom clothes and has like a seamstress, like a garment factory basically, that pays a living wage and treats people humanely and ethically and has a great eye where I can kind of describe, I want this piece to go here with this line, because the layout is so important for the composition on the piece. I have a full-time seamstress here, does the templates and patterning and garment manufacture for custom pieces. So if I have an NBA player who's 7 feet tall, I can make them a garment that fits perfectly that no one else on the planet will ever be seen in. One of these is kind of the standard size I work with now. It's 5 feet tall, 20 feet long, and it will make basically 2 or 3, maybe 4 garments.
How long have you been doing this?
So in this space, almost 6 months, but altogether from beginning, from the art party till now is 2.5 years. Here's where the business part doesn't make sense. I've never sold anything ever. Literally not one thing. So my idea is that if I build it, they will come. And if I share it with enough and the right people, someone's going to fall in love with it. And then I won't be able to keep up to this man. I'm literally just building out an idea with the complete blind faith that it's awesome and then it will succeed. It's really pretty under the radar. I have zero signage. It's all word of mouth. I had some friends over for one of the first parties just to kind of feel what it was like to paint in a place. So I wanted to build up inventory process, quality control, make a super high quality product. So I like designer stuff. And I want to make something that is more exclusive than Louis Vuitton at a comparable or higher quality, but that's way more exclusive and half the price. This is all living wage. It's all one of one. So I have massive quality control, design control, and I can offer those things at half the price and still do that. And so I wanted to get it really dialed in before I offered it to the public or to anyone really. And so I've been wearing this stuff every day and trying to find out like how the pocket should be, if there's any stress or fatigue anywhere, having friends and family wear it to different events and seeing how it drapes and falls.
So what were you doing before all of this?
I've had two really distinct lives, and most of it was defined by becoming a single parent. And so I was a single parent who raised a daughter since she was 3 years old by myself all the way through college with no student loan debt. So I'm really an anarchist, but I love information. I have an idea that goes something like this. If I was going to write a manifesto of just like how I think things should be, it would be based on altruistic anarchy, where people can do whatever they want, but they do the right thing because they choose to. That's kind of how I've operated my life. I went to many colleges in the pursuit of wisdom and never tried to get a degree. That largely stems from my confidence with ability to create affluence in my life that started very, very young. So the first job I ever had was selling carpet in a carpet store. One summer, the first year out of my freshman year of college. So I go and I make 30 grand when the average college graduate made $32,000 a year. I made $30,000 one summer selling carpet. And I just realized that I never have to worry about money. So I can really kind of try to do whatever I want. And in some ways I look back and I wish I would have, done that degree or that more traditional route at times. But what it allowed me to do was kind of whatever I want. And so I would go and make as much money as I needed in sales and live a pretty frugal life, and then shut down and create an art studio or travel. There was a time in my life where I gave away everything I owned and hitchhiked all over the country and relied on the generosity of strangers to move from one place to another. When I needed money in a place where I was going to stay for a while, I would just go do day labor and work 2 or 3 days out of the week and then just go play my guitar at the beach. I literally lived just with an ultimate amount of freedom. It was one of the happiest times in my life. While I was on that adventure, I met my future ex-wife and raised her child. And then we had a child. I raised that child after she was long gone. At that point, I kind of pivoted from that freedom to really focusing on putting my kids in the best schools and accruing affluence and giving them all of the stability that I didn't have. So I created this reality, but I still would take out time, years at a time, to just parent and create. When I got divorced, I took 2 years off of work and I walked my kids to school every day and sat down and had breakfast with them at the school. And I had an art studio on Old East 6th Street down at the very, very end by the HEB when it was still a really, really rough area. I saw the first gentrification of condominiums going in across the street there. That was another kind of golden period in my life where I just was able to create and spend time with my loved ones. And then when the funds ran low, because I never really tried to sell anything, it was all about creating. When it was time to go back to work, I went to work. And I'd worked for 2 or 3 years, and I didn't really like that work, but I did it. And I would take off another year and a half. In the last 30 years of my adult life, I counted it up the other day, I worked 15 of them and took off 17 out of those 32 years in creative endeavors and living a high quality life. Like basically like not waiting until I was retired to retire for 2 years, 3 years at a time. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to create a different reality. And I looked at what people needed, like food, clothing, and shelter. And I tried to start a 3D printing construction company to build houses quicker and less expensive. And it didn't work. It took a lot of my time and resources and funds. And I just realized that an emerging technology wasn't a good idea for someone who didn't have much deeper pockets than me. So I pivoted back to my creative roots and started sculpting again. And so all of this time, all of these years, I've been sculpting. And I have a project that I think of my terminal life project that is the history of the state of Texas. And it's 20,000 pounds, 10 tons of Luter's Blue limestone that is, hopefully I finish before I die. And if dreams were free, there would be one in each of the major cities of Texas. Kind of a pretty organic experience of just like following creativity and trying to create terminal velocity to maintain a creative space.
What advice would you have for someone who is stuck in that like traditional path, but really wants to venture out and pursue something they're actually passionate about?
So I think that your generation is better than probably any generation in the past because there's so much access to information, communication, and technology. I'm Gen X, right? So the boomers were like the ones with this great work ethic of, 9 to 5, but actually 10 hours a day and grind and build. And then the enjoyment is retirement, but then you die 3 years after you retire. I knew I didn't want to do that. My generation maybe kind of initiated that a little bit where people had the idea of pursuing what they loved. I don't think boomers thought like that. And before that, people were working for sustenance and to take care of a family or to, accumulate enough money to have a traditional life. Vice-wise, me, I literally go by blind faith. I just trust the universe will always provide me with abundance if I do something wholeheartedly. That's where I'm at, is I literally put all of my eggs in one basket to create a place where there's collaborative energy in creativity. Either do or don't. And that's really all it is like either follow your passion or do what you think you're supposed to do. But either way, you're just making a choice. For some people, this is the right choice. For some people, this is the right choice. And I don't really give anybody advice, except my kids.
Well, thank you so much for having us today. Could you tell the audience where they can follow your journey, your work?
ATXArtParty.com, at ATX Art Party on Instagram, and then let's go for a tour.
Awesome. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.